Good morning, everyone. Let's do some prayers. Om Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parbrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Om Bhur Bhavaswaha, Tatsavitra Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi, Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodayat, Asto Ma Sadgamya. तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गम्य मृत्योर्मामृतं गम्य ओम सहनावतु सहनावुनक्तु सवीर्यं कर्वावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ओम शांति 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 ओम. Let's open Yog Darshan, second chapter. And the title of this chapter is the Sadhna Pad. And we are on verse number 17. Let me just turn my phone off. So in verse number 16, Rishi Patanjali is making a very bold statement when he says, Hayam dukham anagatam. Pain or suffering that is not yet come can be abandoned, can be avoided. And now in the verse which we are looking at, he's telling us how. Because first we have to know where this pain or the suffering is coming from. And he's saying that union of consciousness or the soul with the objects of the world is the cause of the pain. So union. That means the light who we are has been veiled. And who veiled it? We did. By not recognizing who we truly are. And which part of us did it? Our mind. Mind created a veil. Even though mind should be pristine clear, but we have a mind which is does not remain above this world. It gets drowned into this objective world. And we forget who we are. Otherwise, the mind should be able to see everything and still stay unaffected by what it sees. But we don't have that kind of a mind, and that is the cause of pain. That is the cause of suffering. So the core issue over here, which is talking about this union, that union is the cause of misery, which is the cause of freedom from misery also. If we understand this union and we know where to unite our mind, we can attain freedom. It's like from one side, we got to pluck it and plant it on the other side. And ultimately, we got to become aware of our true nature. And that is our innate ability, actually. We can do it. A clear, calm, tranquil mind will help us experience the limitless expanse of this consciousness. When we have this kind of a mind, we can live in freedom. We don't have to have that kind of a freedom leaving this body. We can live in this body and feel this kind of a freedom. Because to lose such a mind is to live in bondage. And to reclaim such a mind is to attain freedom from bondage. That's what he's telling us. Right now, our mind is caught in its vrittis. Vrittis. Vrittis are mind's own ever-revolving world of thoughts. You remember in the beginning of this great scripture, first chapter, right in the beginning, he talked about vrittis. In fact, when Rishi Patanjali told us, he defined yoga for us, yoga shit vritti nirodha. Then he said these vrittis could be painful or pleasurable. Because sometimes during pleasure also, we forget who we are. And during painful vrittis also we forget. And then he told us these vrittis can be 5 kinds. So those are the vrittis he's talking about over here. Ever revolving world of thoughts. And we have lots of our ability to reflect who we are. We cannot see the separation between the objective world and us. So the union of consciousness with such a mind is the cause of pain and suffering. This is what this verse is all about. And it's not possible to attain freedom from this pain by isolating the mind from our core being, because both our core being and our mind are beginningless and all pervading. They are always in complete union with each other. The only option is to free the mind from its ever-revolving world of thoughts. And this is what yoga is all about. Shutting down the mind's vrittis. So what is preventing us from arresting the vrittis and making our mind clear, calm, and tranquil? In the previous sutra, Patanjali told us that it is our own carelessness. We don't pay much attention to it. Carelessness. And word for the carelessness in yogic literature is called pramad. Pramad. See, pra means a unique form. Pra. And mad means drunkenness. Like a mud. Drunkenness. So when we are drunk, we don't know there is anything wrong with drinking. When we act under the influence, we are oblivious of the consequences. Only when we are sober again do we become aware that the consequences are painful. And severity of the pain makes us resolve not to involve ourselves in such a painful action again. But this carelessness, pramad, is a unique kind of drunkenness. A careless person, even after experiencing the painful consequences, remains blind to the cause. They may believe they want to free of pain, but in reality, they find pleasure in embracing what they know to be painful. It's like a finding pleasure in that pain. That is carelessness. And what is this unique form of drunkenness? Attachment. The more we identify ourselves with the objects of the world, the more we lose sight of the true purpose and meaning of life. The mind becomes preoccupied with this identification. I am this body. This is my name. I belong to this family. I have such and such degrees. I live at this place. What people call me. All kinds of worldly identifications. As our identification matures, we have a hard time letting go of it. because this layer becomes so thick on us, it's hard to break it. And it is always at the forefront of our mind. Sleeping also, waking up also. Even during prayers also. Sometimes it's hard to let go of during meditation also. During moments of realization that such identifications and preoccupations are a source of misery, we consider renouncing them. That's what renunciation is. Vairagya. But attachment to these identification forces us to hold on to them out of habit. Thoughts pertaining to the objects of our attachment, they keep appearing in our mind. And we have to think about it. For us individually, what are those objects or identifications which keep us away from knowing who we are? On one hand, we do not want them to occupy our mind. Why? Because they are painful. At the same time, we do not want them to go away. It's almost like a tussle between these two. A mind caught in this dilemma is a source of pain. We cannot get rid of the mind because it is our eternal companion. The same mind we had in last lives, or the life before, or the life before. That's why it's called the eternal companion. Companion of whom? Companion of who we are, the soul, the Atma. And unless we commit ourselves to yoga, and which is ultimate, is like a samadhi, because yoga is a samadhi. Meditation is just a step towards a samadhi. But we have to attain this samadhi. Our union with the mind and its ever-revolving world of thoughts is unending pain. If you look at this sutra, it appears to present a very pessimistic view of life. We think that to attain this pristine state of mind is difficult. We are so used to these attachments which make our mind dark and dull, and we are not able to renounce them. And this Rishi is telling us that impure minds cannot be united, cannot see clearly who we are. So it makes us wonder whether there's anything good in life, whether the union of mind and consciousness leads us to experience anything other than pain. These are the thoughts come into the mind of an aspirant. I am doing the sadhana. Will it work for me? Will I be able to see the light within and without? Because all these scriptures, all these saints, that's what they've been telling. How come I have not seen it yet? I have not experienced it. In the next verse, Rishi Patanjali is giving us the answer to this. Prakash, Kriya, Sthiti, Sheelam, Bhut, Indriya, Atmakam, Bhog, Apvargah, Arth, Drishyam, It's a rather long sutra. Let's look at each word separately. Prakash. Prakash is light, illumination, or understanding the quality of a sattva. That is prakash. Kriya means action, activity, the principle of motion. And this is a quality of rajas, kriya. Sathiti. Sathiti means heaviness, stability, darkness, denseness, inertia. And this is the quality of tamas. So these three words, prakash, kriya, sthiti, sattva, rajas, tamas. Sheelam. Sheelam means the intrinsic characteristics. So over here, this prakash, kriya, sthiti, sheel are qualifiers of drishyam. You remember in the last verse, the drishyam, the objective world. So prakash, kriya, sthiti, sheelam, that is a objective world. Bhoot, five gross elements. Earth, water, fire, air, space. Those are the bhoot. Indriya, the senses, including the mind. Atmakam, that which is made of. Bhog, experience, fulfillment, enjoyment. That's called bhog. Apvarg. Apvarg is salvation, freedom. Being established in the true nature, that's apvarg. Arth means purpose or goal. Drishyam, that which is to be seen, perceivable, knowable. World and worldly objects which can be comprehended or which can be experienced by the senses and mind. Drishyam. The objective world is made up of elements, bhoot, and senses. Bhoot and indriya. Illumination, action, and stability are its inherent qualities. The objective world furnishes consciousness with the means of achieving fulfillment and freedom. Bhog and apvarg. So with this sutra, Rishi Patanjali is clearly telling us why this objective world exists. So there's a reason this objective world is here. And in detail, he's telling us what it is made of, what its intrinsic qualities and attributes are, and why we are here. Normally, we look at only one thing. We think we are here just to experience. We forget the other part. And when we are experiencing, there are some joyful experiences, some painful experiences. We forget that there is a reason we are here, which is apvarg also. Liberation, salvation. So according to yoga, nature evolves in response to the need of consciousness. Consciousness wishes to experience its infinite joy and boundless freedom. And in response to this intrinsic and spontaneous intention, nature is moved. And these three intrinsic attributes, Prakash, Kriya, and Sthiti, are spontaneously awakened, causing unmanifested nature to become manifest. So, because there is a little movement between these three, Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas, and that's how the unmanifested become manifested. And that, or you can say, this is how our objective world, the Drishya, is born. Because if they're completely still, no movement, there is nothing manifested. And the purpose of this objective world is to provide an environment where consciousness can experience its infinite joy and boundless freedom. Because often we ask ourselves, why this creation? What is the purpose of this creation? Why God created it? This is the answer Rishi Patanjali is giving us. Bhog and Apvarg. This spontaneous intention brings consciousness and nature together in their most pristine state. And from this union, a pristine world is born, where this environment is provided, where consciousness can fulfill its intention. The experience of pure bliss and absolute freedom. The consciousness that does not fall from this understanding and retains the pristine nature of its intention remains the master of nature and the world created by her. So, master of this nature, in Sanskrit, is called Prakriti Laya. Such consciousness has access to nature's infinite bounty, limitless joy and freedom. This nature provides those siddhis to this level of yogis. But the yogi understands that my purpose of sadhana is not just to have this siddhis. Purpose of my sadhana is to attain that ultimate freedom. In Yoga Shastras, such a consciousness or a state of consciousness is called Ishwar, who has full control over the nature. Master of this nature, Ishwar. And then there's another state of consciousness that could not or did not retain the knowledge pertaining to its spontaneous intention. And yet nature is moved in response to that intention. The unmanifest becomes manifest and creating an environment where the consciousness can find fulfillment and freedom. And this is the theory of ordinary consciousness. Not the Ishwara. Ishwar has a full control. And the others, even though we are Atma, part of Paramatma, but we have forgotten that. We are called Jivatma, the individual soul, opposed to the consciousness that never fell from its pristine understanding, Ishwar. The world perceptible to our senses and comprehensible to our mind is for this ordinary category of souls. The practice of yoga is also for this category of souls. the Jivatmas. So these ordinary souls can be divided into two major classes actually. Those who are vigilant and who aspire to regain their pristine knowledge and fulfill the purpose of being born and living in the world. That's a one category. They understand that there's a higher purpose in life. In order to attain that higher goal, I need to do some sadhana. And the second class is those who are complacent, not motivated to recover their pristine knowledge. And they don't even imagine that there's a purpose of being born and living in this world. This sutra is addressing the people belonging to the first category. Remember that. And the previous sutra, sutra number 17, was addressing the people belonging to the second category. And individually, we could be sometimes in this category, and next time around, we could be the second category. We forget. That is why, according to this sutra, the objective world evolving from the union of Purush and Prakriti has a twofold purpose: providing the experience of fulfillment and freedom. And according to the previous sutra, sutra number 17, this same objective world is nothing but pain. Okay? So if we are drowned in the pain, we think there's nothing good in this world. We need to, with the help of the practice or with the help of someone, lift ourselves up. Look at what the purpose of life is. So here in this sutra, Rishi Patanjali makes 3 points. Number 1, the world and the worldly objects have a twofold purpose: enjoyment and freedom. Number 2, the world is made of 5 elements and 11 senses, including the mind. 5 Gyanendriya, 5 Karmendriya, and 1 mind. Number 3, illumination, activity, and stability are the intrinsic attributes of this world. So in this verse, these 3 things are mentioned. Let me repeat it again. Number 1, the world and worldly objects have twofold purpose: enjoyment and freedom. Number 2, the world is made up of 5 elements and 11 senses, including the mind. And number 3, illumination, activity, and stability are intrinsic attributes of this world. So when we break down long sutra into the parts, our mind can understand it a little better. So with the first point, Rishi Patanjali shatters the notions that enjoyment and spirituality are opposed to each other. That enjoyment and freedom are opposed to each other. And that freedom from pain and misery can be found apart from this world. The world and life here in this world are intrinsically neither good nor bad. It is only our understanding that makes them good or bad. We give the colors to our experiences, whether it's good or bad. If you remember verse number 15 of this chapter, Rishi Patanjali acknowledges the presence of pain in life. In Sutra 16, he teaches how pain can be avoided. conquered, eliminated. And in Sutra 17, he describes why pain and misery are inevitable for a complacent person. And here in 18, he tells us that for a vigilant and self-motivated person, this world is not at all painful. This is a field of enjoyment. This world is full of choices. We find what we seek. To those interested in pleasure, the world and worldly objects are pleasant. To those interested in enlightenment, the world and worldly objects are enlightening. The world has everything. We need to find fulfillment as well as freedom. To tap into this infinite bounty of this world, we have to understand what this world is made of and where we fit in it. What is our role in this world? We have come here with a purpose. And this takes us to Patanjali's second point in this verse. That world is made up of 5 elements and senses through which we perceive them. It is easy to understand that the 5 elements constitute our natural world. It is also easy to understand that sentient beings, such as animals, insects, bacteria, they are all an integral part of our natural world. We got to learn to live with them. They have a place over here also. But what escapes our understanding is that our senses and mind are also an integral part of our natural world. We normally see this world as made up of 2 parts. World outside and ourselves. But if you apply sincere introspection, that introspection will reveal that we are made up of 2 distinct categories of reality. Energy and matter and consciousness. Or you can say Atma and Anatma. The body, mind, senses are derived from and remain part of energy and matter, which is known as Prakriti. And our core being is made up of consciousness, which is called Purush. So 2 things, Prakriti and Purush. And consciousness identifies itself with the body, mind, and senses so completely, it forgets that they are as much an integral part of the natural world as everything else. It forgets that just like the rest of the world, the body, mind, and senses are also a repository of fulfillment and freedom. And this very strong identification forces the Jivatma to believe that it is the body and mind. Once this belief matures, the consciousness finds no reason to examine whether or not its identification with the body is valid. And in light of this firm belief, consciousness has no choice but to depend on the external world for its fulfillment and freedom. And the flow of consciousness becomes outward oriented. And its fulfillment also becomes dependent on its material possessions. Or you can say the freedom becomes dependent on its ability to consume. That is why we resort to the external world in the search of fulfillment. We work so hard to obtain power, to obtain possessions, and even recognition. And when disappointed in these pursuits, we continue to look for a solution in the external world. It never occurs to us that the solution to our suffering can be found right here in our body, right here in our mind and senses. And this way of thinking destroys the very foundation of our inner healing and empowerment. So that's why these great rishis, the sages, gurus, they come again and again to tell us, to put us on the right path. So Rishi Patanjali is telling us that to enjoy fulfillment and attain freedom here and now, we must acknowledge the fact that our body and senses are an integral part of the natural world. They are part of the Prakriti. Nature has deposited her gifts of fulfillment and freedom right here in this body, mind. Just like it has deposited that in the rest of the creation too. This is the Prakriti's gift to us. And as part of our yoga sadhana, we must remind ourselves that life in this world has a purpose. The body and mind and everything in the world around us are equipped with everything we need to fulfill that purpose. But again, it's up to us whether we live purposefully or we die in vain. That freedom has been given to us. Which path we will use? And Rishi Patanjali goes on to describe how the objective world offers choices of what we experience and how we experience it. And that is the third point in this sutra. He says illumination, activity, and stability are inherent qualities of the objective world. So tamsikta, rajsikta, and satvikta, they are part of the prakriti. Everything evolving from prakriti is inherently imbued with these three qualities. At the practical level, sattva means uplifting thoughts, interest in cultivating higher virtues, motivation for achieving higher goals. That's satvikta. Rajas means to be active, to undergo change. And tamas means the inclination for discouraging and saddening thoughts. Inclination towards sloth, inertia, laziness, the quality of darkness, and heaviness. Every single object, as well as the building blocks of our body, mind, and senses, is imbued with these three qualities. Nothing in the world is totally enlightening, uplifting, active, inert, radiant, or dark. Every object contains the seeds of pleasure and pain. Every object has the potential to be a source of bondage and liberation. So our body, mind, and senses contain both all the causes and all the cures for every form of pain and misery. And the ever-changing nature of things constantly brings and takes away both our fortunes and misfortunes. Those who are vigilant and self-motivated recognize this. We see them embracing what is good and auspicious in the world and also objects. Very easily they can discard that which is neither. Ability to distinguish the good from the bad, useful from the useless, is called vivek. That means the power of discrimination. What is right, what is wrong, what is true, what is false, what is temporary, what is eternal. A person endowed with the power of discrimination, the vivek, enjoys the subjective world. Bhog. And at the same time remains free from what he enjoys, apvarg. See, just like that lotus flower lives in the water and the mud, gets the nourishment from it, but stays above the water and the mud. Does not get immersed into it. So the power of discrimination is a function of the decisive faculty of our mind known as buddhi, intellect. Everything else, or you can say just like everything else, buddhi is derived from and made up of prakriti. Buddhi is not who we are. Buddhi is the faculty which we need to keep on working on. The intellect. The greater dominance of a sattva, the more vibrant and illuminating this faculty is. That's why we are encouraged as aspirants to live more and more sattvic life. Sattvikta in our food, sattvikta in our environment, sattvikta in our speech, sattvikta in our actions, so that our ordinary buddhi can reach to that level of vivek. Because the more tamas dominates, the duller and darker this faculty becomes, which is called a mand buddhi or duller intellect. It's up to us how we're going to keep this buddhi of ours, because we are not the buddhi, but we have this buddhi, this intellect. It's up to us to become a viveki or aviveki. So, to cultivate a radiant and active power of discrimination, it is important that we support and promote the sattvic force of our mind. Okay, and what is a mind? The thoughts, the flow of our thoughts. And we all know that our thoughts depend upon the information they gather from the senses. So if we want a sattvic buddhi, we got to have a sattvic mind. In order to have a sattvic mind, sattvic senses also. That's why that indriya nigraha is so important. We will see that Rishi Patanjali in verse number 28 will very clearly tell us the purpose of yoga sadhana. He will say that is to eliminate the mind to the point where its power of discrimination is fully matured. So we got to keep on working on our, while we are working on our body, because body needs to stay healthy, but our intellect especially, because intellect is directing our mind. Intellect is subtler and higher than the mind, the buddhi. So we got to illuminate the mind to the point where its power of discrimination is fully matured, unobstructed, unfailing, and revealing. Keep on polishing this subtle personality of ours. We have become good at taking care of the physical body. But eventually, this subtle body is the one which is going to accompany us. So we got to keep on polishing that also. And next week, we will see in verse number 19 how nature's three forces, Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas, interact with each other. And they bring forth the objective world in this process. So we'll start with the verse number 19 next week. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaye Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you very much for joining.